Welcome to another edition of Selling Cards for Profit, the inevitable economic cycle, beginning and end of a new junk wax era. For the tail end of the COVID-19 pandemic, card collecting boom due to flipping, buying undervalued cards and reselling at high prices, meaning that the peak of the baseball card boom, which kind of started in 2020, is nearing an end in 2021, and that most of that was basically due to buying cards at lower price and then flipping them for higher prices. Some currently speculate there are now so many parallels and insert cards that even the top cards have become less scarce, and the market is taking a somewhat downward turn, as we see in the sales of the 1909 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. Rickey from February 2021 to May 2021. The majority of cards today are preserved and get high grades, which further dilutes their value. Cards are coming out of packs, being preserved and being sent in, and there's so many gem 10s that they're coming back now from the graders, and it once again dilutes the product and giving the impression of over availability. So it's just a matter of what we call and have learned over centuries. The laws of economics always catch up, and that's occurring now in 2022 in the card market. The laws of supply and demand meant that the price soon would go down. In fact, there is no unified market in the baseball card industry. After all, the products for sale is just coated cardboard with pictures of men playing a game and being paid millions of dollars. Stimulus money during the pandemic has run out, and many people have returned to their jobs. PSA raised their prices significantly in the grading, and therefore it lowered the profit margins in terms of if I had a card for sale, then part of my profit came in paying for the card to be graded. Is this a crash or a correction? So prices rose during this period of time where the market soared about 3 to 15 times higher during this boom, and then lost more than half of their gains rapidly in terms of the decline. Economists would call what is happening in the marketplace not a crash, but a correction. A correction is a rapid change in the value of an asset to reflect its actual value better. So in other words, it's gotten back to where it should be in the market in terms of availability and value that is perceived for the particular cards that are purchased. One man's mint was another man's near mint. A solution to the subjectivity of conditions appeared when third-party grading firms basically played a part in determining truly what that grade was versus just people assuming and looking at their cards and grading them themselves. PSA launched in 1991 as the premier card grader. During the second baseball card boom, new collectors loved getting PSA gradings of 10s and were willing to pay a premium price to have those cards graded. PSAs were overwhelmed, so many people who sent in for grading that they were slow to grade. In other words, how long it took to get those cards back. As a result, the supply of PSA 10s were low for a good period of time, and prices remained high. Even if you remove cards from factory set, grading was often less than a PSA 9 or 10 many times due to manufacturer defects, not because of the way the card was handled or preserved by the buyer, but the basic coming from the manufacturer in terms of there were slight differences or defects in the surface, in the photo quality, centering of the card, and borders. The cost of getting cards graded are getting much too high, especially with the risk that a card won't come back as a Gen 9 or 10. And the reason is that the card graders are being very precise, and they're experts with jeweler loops, as you can see here, that they're able to see much finer in terms of just the slightest defects to kind of prevent them from becoming a grade 9 or 10. And PSA, in addition to kind of being very precise, which they're paid to be, raise their prices substantially, sometimes as much as $50 to $150 per card, significantly lowering the collector's profit margins. Still, thousands of new cards were being graded and being returned with PSAs of 10, therefore lowering their value because the sense of scarcity was no longer applicable. In addition to the grading concerns, there are many cards coming out now that are extremely high-end. Example of this is the Flawless, which is available in metal briefcases containing 10 cards in heavy plastic folders, and their inaugural packs or cases cost $1,200 and contain 7 autograph cards and 2 relics, and a real diamond or emerald embedded into one of the cards in that particular pack, and came with a certificate of authenticity with regards to those gemstones. And there were no more than 25 of each card produced. So it certainly gave you a sense of there was a limited supply and would make the card much more valuable in the future. The 2016 inaugural baseball set, as opposed to the 2012-2013 basketball, came out at a price of $1,500 per case. And that soared to, in 2021, to $2,000 per case. And this was all produced by the NBA and the cards of baseball were both produced by Panini for this Flawless product. Topps countered with what they called their definitive and Topps Diamond Icon. They were $2,000 per box or pack, 8 cards per box, 6 autographs, 2 relics, and produced no more than 50 of each card. They were sold for $5,500 per case, which included 3 boxes. And the Diamond Icon had 10 cards, 7 autographs, 2 relics autographed, 1 relic cleats, and the diamond cards. And it was available for $13,000 for a 4-box case, $4,000 each on their release day. So very expensive high-end cards, but of course these cards were in short supply and minimum demand, and the prices of reselling those cards and the resale value was extremely high and kind of encouraged people to purchase this as an investment item. And then we go back to what was dominant during the junk wax era, with lots and lots of rookies and rookie prospects, with the new cards today that are coming out from Panini, Topps, and we find that in 2018, the Shohei Ohtani appeared on at least 2,700 distinct rookie cards manufactured by just 2 companies. Compare this to the Nolan Ryan card from Topps, which there was 1 single card, to maybe 6 companies or brands that were producing rookies in the 80s, and then to this many rookies just of 1 player for 1 year. And here we have what some have considered the top 10 rookie cards to kind of attain for this particular player. In 2019, there were 20 or more different parallels of 1 player, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., in the Topps Chrome rookie cards. It still holds that getting any 1 player, despite how good or what promise they have when they enter the league, that it's possible to overvalue that player, and that getting too much of 1 player card may pan out not to be valuable at all in the future if the player has an injury or does not continue their successful career. Speculators are burned often on the ultra-modern moves that did not pan out, and many have moved to the more secure kind of investments of the vintage cards, those cards being produced before 1980. In addition to this grading and the high price of grading, as well as the kind of unknowns of projecting in terms of a rookie's future value, then over these years, there's been a significant decline in baseball fans, as you can see by these different graphs. The popularity, attendance, and viewership of baseball is in a slow but steady decline. TV viewership has been down 12% since 2019. Attendance at games in 2021 is the lowest since 1984 at 68.5 million overall. And football overtook baseball as the most popular sport in America, and the NBA threatens to take the second spot in the very near future. Loss of interest by children and adolescents who now purchase and collect other cards than baseball. So they kind of have moved away, even starting in the 90s, to collect cards that are non-baseball, but to continue kind of the collecting frenzy. So some of the cards that they've kind of moved to include Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic cards, Dungeons and Dragons, wrestling, football, basketball, hockey, tennis, golf, other sports like boxing. And soccer has become really very prominent, not necessarily just in the US, but globally. So there's an economic cycle that those who kind of study this field say that will fit into the different laws of investing. And this is for the average baseball card collector, buying baseball cards is a hobby. It's an ancillary and discretionary expense. When one's income is compromised by necessary things such as food, gas, etc., that's going to eat into their hobby budget. When there's less money to buy things, that's going to lower the resale prices of the cards, and the average customer becomes priced out of the market because the cards have gotten too expensive. So here we see this economic cycle, which kind of goes down, comes up, goes down, but there's a steady increase. So we see that it peaked in 1993 with the junk wax era, and there were greater supply than demand. And so we have a sharp drop at that time over the period of 1999 to 2009. It hit bottom, and then it peaks again, as we just seen recently in 2021, and then it's started to basically make a slow and gradual slope, as we're seeing today in 2022. Wagering what will happen in the next 5 years is where we would be speculating. And so some people who make it their business to kind of project these possibilities say that in the money world, no asset ever truly dies. It's just cyclical, as you can see in this economic cycle. Trading card business, though, for many prognosticators say, is projected to reach 98.7 billion by 2027 and have a 23% growth. The high end and vintage cards will maintain their value. So that, yes, some of the market is going down and some of the cards are no longer as valuable as they were, but those high end and the vintage cards will at least maintain their value and make a slow progression, as you see in the blue line, in terms of growth trend. Some 2021 prospects by 2027 will reach fruition, and there'll be an increased value in those cards. And more individuals that are in the previous years will make the Hall of Fame, and their value may increase ever so slightly. Unlike stocks, though, buyers can have emotional attachments to players and teams. So it's much more than just the money, but also that kind of connection with the heroes of their era. Hope for the baseball hobby's future success. What things do we look at? Well, it will always be the thrill of the search and buying card packs in hopes you will pull a high-priced card. So there's a lot of, on the internet, there's a lot of breaks where you have unopened packs from years gone by, and people will pay significant amounts hoping that the one or two or maybe three cards of that particular year and set will be one of the more expensive cards. Now, even celebrities are getting in the sports market, as we see Drake and Oberman, and there are others who are buying really the high-end cards and even kind of publicizing this over the internet and the television and so forth. Now, getting kids into playing baseball, watching games, attending ballparks, and getting back in the collecting cards should be a goal of the baseball as well as the collectors industry, especially at an earlier age, not starting perhaps in their tweens or teens or young adults, but basically when they're still children. And getting dads acting as mentors who are attracted to the fun that comes with the hobby and not solely for profit. So what's in it, the card for the collector? And it was Yogi Berra who said many things. It's tough to make predictions, especially about the future. So to really guess what will happen is pure speculation, but there are trends. We call it footprints in the sand. We don't know exactly where we're going, but we know we're going in the right direction. So with that said, that we see that the estimated 10,000 hobby cop shops shrunk to around 1,000 during this last period, but those should remain solvent and profitable, the ones that remain in terms of the sales of cards. In a recession, some will prioritize gas, food, and their mortgages over unnecessary collectibles and will temporarily leave the hobby. But there are absolutely collectors, speculators, breakers who still have lots of money to spend and still are looking for something better to put their money into outside the stock market. So there are indicators in terms of looking at trends and long-term trends in terms of, as we see in the stock market, also in the hobby market. And you'll see that these trends tend to kind of follow a line, even though there are kind of peaks and valleys along that line, but it's a steady increase. And so sports cards are projected to kind of either hold their own or gradually increase over time. So prices are coming down means more collectors and investors can get into the hobby, finding it easier to obtain cards within their budget. And actually, this is encouraging. So this is a positive influence of this correction as we've been discussing. Margins are shrinking. That means the price between what you paid for the card and what you can get for the cards are shrinking. And collectors seem to be more selective in what they buy. So one has to be very careful and very kind of a prognosticator to say which cards are not only valuable, but which cards are going to be valuable continually into the future. And another card market economic indicator is how many potential buyers and sellers are using services such as PWCC. PWCC is a global leader in trading cards and related collectibles, provides daily access to auctions and fixed price market. So it's just one, but you can see on the right that kind of trend that they are experiencing is still going up despite that kind of decrease in the peak that we experienced in 2021. So what is the 5-year trend? Well, we'll see that in the collectibles, and not just any card, but you'll see in all the cards that there has been a gradual but steady increase in the growth, and sometimes it has been significant, as the case of soccer and basketball and hockey. But still, there has been that increase over time in terms of football and baseball. And you see the 5-year performance from 2017 to 2022, that sports card really rank much better than the S&P 500 gold and bonds. So in addition to this kind of cards, we kind of ask about an analog hobby in the digital world. In other words, something that is an analog is something you can feel, touch, engage with, and it's not abstract. So a baseball card in the past and currently is a cardboard, something you can feel, touch, and basically move. And now we're moving into a digital world, the use of digital tools to communicate on the internet, digital devices, smart devices, and other technologies, something that's kind of in cyberspace, but you still have ownership in that. And NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, which we talked about in actually our part 1 of making a profit from your collection, are here for the foreseeable future. There's something that are here to stay, most prognosticators are suggesting. Cardboard, though, those analogy to the analog hobby appeal to kids. Digital cards appeal to teenagers and young adults, and blockchains, which is a part of the computer system, appeal to everybody. So that if you are interested in learning additional information about the baseball card industry, the history of baseball cards, profiting and investing in baseball cards, or ideas to bring the fun back to collecting, be sure to follow us below. Feel free to view our library of YouTube videos, and please take a moment to hit the subscribe button. And check out our eBay store, where we have available for sale many of the cards shown on these videos. So that's it for now. Take the rest of the day off, and we'll talk later.